Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're just waiting for a few more people to join, then we'll get started. Thanks. Okay, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for this short executive briefing. My name's Bruce Penson. I'm the Managing Director of ProDrive, and I'm joined today by our Operations Director, Chris Morrell. So the format today, I'll be making a short introduction, just talking about artificial intelligence very briefly. And then Chris is going to run through a few demos of how you can automate some basic administrative tasks using AI. And there's going to be some time for questions at the end. If you have any questions, please can you pop them in the chat, and we'll answer them all at the end of the webinar. So why are we doing this webinar today? There's obviously a lot of buzz around AI at the moment, especially since ChatGPT has become freely available for everyone to use. And it's true to say there's now a bit of an arms race amongst technology giants to bring business AI products to the market. And some examples of that is Microsoft's Copilot, which is being released within Windows, the Office 365 suite and Power Platform shortly. But AI has been around for quite a long time, actually, and it's nothing really new. And probably most of you are using AI day-to-day services like Siri, Alexa, or online chatbots, for instance. But the latest generative AI, as it's known, using these large language models, is no doubt extremely powerful and can be very transformative to business. I think we're just seeing the beginning of the sort of possibilities that it brings. Of course, AI is not just about replacing jobs. There is obviously this idea that AI is some big monster that's going to put everyone out of work. And okay, it probably will affect some jobs and maybe replace some jobs, but it's not really a very helpful perception. And actually, it's better to think of AI more of a machine that you can use to do tasks and jobs maybe that people don't actually like or enjoy doing. And the other risk really of not adopting AI is if you don't automate, then your competition is going to be doing this. And, we've seen examples in the past of where companies don't adapt to change, such as Blockbuster Video didn't adapt to the whole streaming concept and what happened to them. So really, it's in your interest, I think, as a business person to understand what you can do with AI and how you can use that within the business. One last point, just a bit of food for thought here, that people's expectations from businesses has changed over the years as well. And now, particularly from a service perspective, people want instant service, instant responses. They're using devices every day to get this information. It's very difficult to do this without effective automation. And AI is one sort of tool that can help us bring that into our organizations. And we're actually already using AI a lot at ProDrive as well. So we're not doing anything super complicated, but we're just trying to eliminate basic admin tasks and be able to respond quicker to our clients and provide a better service. So at this stage, I'm going to hand over to Chris, who's going to demo a few examples of things that you can be doing in your business or everyday life using some freely available AI tools. And hopefully that will give you some food for thought. And as I say, if you do have questions, please pop them in the chat. We'll answer them at the end. So I'll hand over to Chris now.
Thanks a lot, Bruce. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. So just a very quick overview on AI. Bruce mentioned that it's a language model. What does that mean? Well, that really means that we can talk to the AI system. ChatGPT being the most popular language model. There are other types of AI systems. You can get ones that can create images, that can create songs. You can get ones that are specifically made to analyze data. But what we're seeing a lot of popularity with is the large language model ones, because those are things that you can just ask it a question and it gives you an answer. So that's what we're going to focus on in this webinar. And we're going to focus on ChatGPT. That's what we've been using mainly. But I am just going to touch on a few other AI services that you might want to use. So how do you get onto ChatGPT? Well, it's just a website at the minute. Other services can look into it, but if you want to get on and use it, it's a website that you can log into. It looks a bit like an instant messenger, like Teams or WhatsApp, and it'll become quite familiar if you've used any of those. There is a paid for version of ChatGPT, but there is also a free version. As with everything, the paid for version gets you a bit more functionality, but the free version is pretty effective, and it's what we'll be using in this demo. One of the big differences at the minute between the paid for version and the free version is the paid for version can now actually access the internet, whereas the free version is still limited to a data set that I think ended in September 2021. So everything that it can give you is information from there. But as I said, we'll use the free version, so you'll see what that looks like if you want to then jump on and try it after the webinar. So let me share my screen so that everyone can see it. If it's not big enough, if people can't make out what's on the screen, please just put it in the chat and we can always change the resolution. So this is ChatGPT. As I said, it looks a little bit like an instant messenger. You send it a message and it will respond. There are various ways that you can tweak it. I'll touch on a few of them, but we'll just stick with the basics for now. So what can we do with ChatGPT? Well, it turns out you can do quite a lot with it, which is quite useful. You can use it to draft emails. You can use it to plan your holidays. You can research topics. You can analyze data. You can write birthday cards, something I've used because I'm terrible at coming up with a message in a birthday card. You can write job adverts, a whole raft of things. So we've chosen a few of these to try and demonstrate its power. And the first thing that I'll start with is drafting an email. Now, there are some topics that people might struggle with when they're drafting an email, so I've tried to pick one that I know I would struggle with, and it would take me a long time to write an email. So let's say we want to send an email to our boss about a difficult colleague, something where we want to come across with the right tone, we want to be quite careful with. I'm going to paste in an example. I'm not going to try and type it because you'd all see how terrible my spelling is and how slow my typing is. So basically, I'm just saying that we've got an issue with a colleague called Bill. He's often late, doesn't meet deadlines, that kind of thing. So I pasted that in, and then I just click send message. GPT will read it and respond. Hopefully. Normally much quicker than this. It's always the way in demos, isn't it? There we go. So as you can see, it's read the message. I didn't put the message in particularly what I would call computer language. I tried to make it something that in a way that you would speak to a normal person, so we don't have to kind of translate when talking to ChatGPT. And it's come out and it's finished now, so it obviously sped up while we were doing that. So just scrolling through it, you can see it's come back with some good information. I mean, it's not a bad email. It's not an email that I would send. If I was looking at this, it's the language is not the language I would use. It's a bit too sort of business jargony and stuff. But all of the information is there. So that's given me, if I wanted to send this email, a good template to work from. However, I don't like that, and I wouldn't send that email. So let's see if we can get ChatGPT to do a bit of a sort of a better job. So if I say that's a bit fancy, can you tell me more normal language? And let's see what it comes up with now. Okay, so to me, that's coming back with something that's a lot more useful. This is more as I would send an email. perhaps more relevant for everybody else out there. So what I wanted to show you there was a couple of things. One was obviously ChatGPT can draft these emails very, very easily for you. As I said, I would probably take hours to write an email like that and re-edit it and delete it, talk to people and that kind of thing. So this has given me really quickly a great template, but also how easy it is to then tailor the information it's given you. So it gave us a version at first that I didn't like. So I've asked it to change it ever so slightly, and it's come back straight away with something that I think is a lot better. So I would be fairly happy to edit that and send it on. So that's the first thing that I wanted to show. We all send lots of emails. Sometimes they can be difficult. Sometimes you have to tread carefully with how you want to phrase it. So that can help. That's something that I use quite a lot to make sure I get the tone right. So something else that I said we can use ChatGPT for is for research. Again, just mentioned the limitation with the free version that it only has data up to September 2021. So if you're looking to research up to the minute things, you're not going to be able to do that on the free version. But nonetheless, it can still give you some really interesting information. As I said, I've limited it to the free version. So this is the kind of results you would get if you were using that. So what if we wanted to ChatGPT to help us with marketing? We could all use help with marketing, right? It's a language and an environment all to itself. So what I'm going to do this time is just ask it to tell us something about some trends in digital marketing. I've put 23 deliberately so that we can see how it can adapt to something where it doesn't have the information. Right. So you can see it's going through a lot of stuff here. I've asked it for trends in digital marketing in 2023. It's told us it can't actually do that, but it can predict what the trends might be, and it's gone through. Look at that, number one, use of AI and machine learning. No surprise there that it's come up with that as a high one. So you can see again, it's giving us some really good information. It's summarizing it. It's giving it in a way that we can read easily. So cutting down on the amount of time it might take us to find this out. Now, this is nothing here that you couldn't find out on Google, but I think what it does is it makes it a lot more efficient. It makes it easier to read, and it summarizes it very well. So I think you can probably see how quickly you can get this information and how that can help in your admin tasks or in your research tasks. Sorry. So it's given loads of stuff there. I don't really understand most of that. I'm not sure if we've got any marketers there. But it would give, if I was then looking to investigate marketing, it would obviously give me some really good topics that I could then go and expand on, which I think would work really well. So you don't have to just use ChatGPT for business, obviously. We can use it for all sorts of things. One thing that I've used it for in the past, and I think is really good, is to help with holiday planning. So let's say you're lucky enough to be going to Rome in October for a long weekend, and you just want to find out some things that you can do there. Now, again, I've put in that I'm going at the end of October. So I'm hoping that it will come back with some information about October. Maybe there's some particular festivals or something, or to do with the weather or what have you. So anyone that's lucky enough to have gone to Rome will no doubt recognise a lot of these things. It's gone through and it's pulled out all of the most popular tourist locations in Rome, planned out your day for you, told you where to go for lunch, that kind of thing. And then given some general information about Rome, about the weather, about the language, even about the cuisine. Doesn't mention how hilly it is, though. If you have been to Rome, you'll know that's something that it could have told us. But again, I think what this shows, what I wanted to use this for, is just how quickly you can get that information. Yes, we could get it off Google. It'd probably be the same stuff, but it would take you an awful lot longer to get all of that stuff together. And again, you can tailor it. So if you're particularly into coffee, which most of us probably are, we can then ask it, where's good in Rome? And hopefully it will come back. And from experience, I know that there are lots and lots of beautiful coffee houses in Rome, and there we go. And so it's going through giving us information about the different places that we might go. You'll notice again, I've used normal language. I love coffee, whereas doing Rome, I haven't specifically told it that I want to look for coffee places in Rome. It's clever enough that it can work that out. So you can use fairly normal language to communicate with it. And there we go. It's come back with a load of what I imagine are absolutely lovely coffee houses to go and view, making me thirsty. So this is not linking through to anything. This is pulling the information from the data set that it had in the past. There are plugins that you can use with ChatGPT, and one of the most popular plugins is from a company called Kayak, who are a holiday booking service. And if you add the plugin in, which is quite easy to do, you can, it's not showing me now, I can come back to that later. You can add the plugin, it will search the internet for flight prices, bookings for holiday rentals, for car rentals, all of those kind of things. So that is then a plugin that can access information that is out there in real time now, and pull it back and give you some information. A colleague of mine planned his entire Venice trip using Kayak the other day, and took a matter of seconds what would have probably taken hours, and what have you. So a couple of examples there of how you might use ChatGPT to research information. So some other things that it can do is it can analyze data. I've made some really basic sort of tables. I hope everyone can see there. I put it this way just so that you can kind of see what the data looks like. So some basic Excel tables about some sales information. And if I paste that in, hard for us to read, but fortunately ChatGPT can pull that out, and it's going to give us some analysis of the data that I've put in there. It's so basic. It's not going to be it's not going to be that I guess in depth or what have you, but hopefully it can give us some sort of information about the data that we're putting in, some analysis. So it's going through what I put in there were meetings booked and the target, meetings attended and the target, and the sales made and the target. And it's gone through and it's summarised those. It's told me what the table says. That's great. Says that Sue's performing exceptionally well. Kate's not doing so well. So it's given us some basic information there about the data, which is good. If I put in a slightly more complicated information, so again, this is sales information about some widgets, which ProDrive might be thinking of making, blue, silver, or gold, and we'll see if it can give us anything a little bit more interesting. Now, I'm obviously just pasting in really basic stuff from Excel. Again, you can use plugins for it to take the Excel document in. So if you've got more complicated data, and let's face it, we probably do have more complicated data than this kind of thing, then you can do that as well. A bit like the Kayak plugin, it can then access that information and give you some more usable actions from it. So there you go. It looks like it's finished. So as you can see, I've asked it now to expand. It's going into a little bit more detail, and it's actually starting to analyze the sales of the different types of widgets. Blue widget sales are declining. So it's giving me some actions as well. Nothing that you wouldn't be able to get if you weren't to look at the table yourself. Of course, this is a really basic set of data. If you're getting bigger sets of data, it can just save an awful lot of time. I'm sure we'd be able to come up with all of this ourselves without the help of ChatGPT, but I suspect it might take a bit longer. And it's still going. still telling us what we might want to do. So some really useful information that we can take out there really quick and very easy, and also very easy to ask it to give you to expand a bit or to focus on a particular product or whatever. So that's how we might use it for data analysis. I've talked about drafting emails and about researching. And finally now moving away from ChatGPT, something that I'm seeing an awful lot with the people that vendors and clients that I work with is note-taking. So there are various AI services that can plug into your meeting software, or you can upload recordings, and they will transcribe meetings, they will summarize, pull out action points, and in some of the ones with more functionality, you can actually then use AI to analyze the meeting and pull out tones from people, what their intentions might have been, if there's underlying things they're not mentioning, which is very powerful. So one that we use is called Fireflies, fireflies.ai. It has a free version, and as with all of these services, it had paid for versions when you get more functionality. So I had a meeting with a colleague yesterday where we just caught up on some tickets and on a client. And what it's done here doesn't display it particularly well, so I hope everyone can see what's going on. What it's done here is it's summarised the meeting in a fairly brief way, and it's then pulled out some action items. So these are things that we agreed during the meeting. Daniel's going to update the document. He'll send it to me to review. I'll double check it. He'll continue with the security audit. I could do a screen share. So it's pulled out some of those actions. You can get this email to you, and then obviously it's quite easy to also get it to automatically email all of the attendees of the meeting. So you can get out an actions list from it quite easily. One thing that I particularly like, if it's a long email, is when you scroll through the transcript, you can click on any bit of the transcript. You'll see it turns to a blue link, and it will then take you straight to that point of the meeting and start playing the audio. So if you think it's got the transcript wrong or whatever, you can very easily go back in and check what it's saying, or just refresh yourself as to what happened in the meeting. So this can be really useful, save a lot of time. Obviously, you don't need to worry about typing things in during the meeting. You can focus on what you're talking about, and then it's summarized all, and you can use that afterwards. So that's all I had on my list to go through. I hope that's given everybody a bit of an idea about the things that you can use it for. I did focus it. This was a basic webinar for using basic tasks. I believe we are going to do another webinar when we do some more advanced tasks and delve into the different plugins and what have you. But hopefully this has given everybody a bit of an insight into what you can do with ChatGPT, a quick guide on how to use it and how to get started. So I don't know if there's any questions that have come through.
Thanks for that, Chris. We have had a couple of questions whilst you've been doing the presentation there. So we've got one from Dan here. Can you write some meeting notes into this? I think relates to ChatGPT, sorry. Can you write some meeting notes into the message, and will it be able to write a letter to a client based on the information provided? So I'll hand over to you for that one, Chris.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, good question. Yes, absolutely, you can do that. You can, if you like, string things together, so you can give it some data, and then you can ask it to do something based on that data. Just a little bit similar to the sales data that we put in. We gave it some information, then we can ask it some questions about it. So yes, absolutely, you can do that, and a great way to do it, to use its power.
Yeah, there's actually a whole kind of almost industry that's resulted from this, and it's known as prompt engineering. So if anyone does a sort of Google of prompt engineering and ChatGPT, you'll find loads about this, and there's lots of freely available templates out there for really useful prompts to get ChatGPT to provide more information on, more context, or provide or carry out actions around information you're providing it. So that's worth looking into. Another question here from Jason. With the risk of large language models learning from input information, what's the best way to utilize AI to assist with company data without the risk of a data leak? So that's a great question there, Jason.
that is a great question. Yeah, and it is obviously, it's a big topic around the dangers of AI. I think the short answer to that is to not put sensitive or confidential information into any of these things. That may or may not be possible depending on how you're wanting to use it. Going forwards, I think the best way to maintain the confidentiality is to own the AI model. So in Azure, you can Azure is Microsoft's infrastructure service. You can spin up instances of ChatGPT, and those are within your own instance, and you can control them. The ChatGPT that we're using on the website is not controlled or owned by us, and we can't know with any certainty what's going to happen to anything we put in there or the data. So the only real way to control that would be to own it. That's obviously a big step forward from what we're showing here, but it's a concern for everybody, I think, of where you're putting the data and what's going to happen with it.
Yeah, we've got a similar question actually from Sharif about confidential information and AI tools in general. I think one other thing, I believe ChatGPT actually have announced they're going to release a private version of their language model, apparently, which is allegedly going to do that. You could, obviously there is a risk. You don't know what's going to happen, even if you're spinning up your own private instance or using ChatGPT's private instance. You still don't know what's happening to your data, and I can understand why people might be concerned about that. But to put it into context, if you're using any kind of cloud service provider, you're already giving them all your data. So if you store all your information in SharePoint, for instance, Microsoft SharePoint, which is part of their 365 package, all your data is already on their server. So you are, in effect, yes, you have an agreement with them that will contain confidentiality clauses, and you're trusting that they're going to honor that agreement. It's going to be a similar kind of scenario with AI models. You'll have a private model you sign up to, you'll sign some terms. In those terms, Microsoft or whoever you're signing them with will have confidentiality clauses, which absolutely 100% you should check before you start putting any confidential information into that model. And but you are trusting the company you're working with ultimately that they're going to honor the agreement there. And there have obviously been instances of tech businesses not sticking to the terms of their agreements, but I don't think this is a unique problem to AI. This is any challenge where you're putting your data into the hands of another provider effectively. Do we have any more questions? No. Okay. So the slides will go out to everyone that was on the webinar today. Obviously, there's not much information in there, but there are contact details for both myself and Chris, our emails and LinkedIn information there. So if you have any questions, please, after this webinar, please do get in touch. Also, we will be running some more webinars on this subject, as we're being asked by our clients regularly about how you can use AI and what it means to them. And so we'd be really interested in hearing what you would like to hear more about, so we can incorporate that into future webinars. Okay, so we're going to wrap up now. Thank you very much for attending today, and I hope it was useful.